Welcome back everyone to a very bare model railway table. Like I said, I'm not doing any more work on this as far as rebuilding until after Christmas. I've got too much other work to do at the moment. But I can continue with a few unboxings and some few minutes of running time. My box of boxes keeps giving. You've seen me fill two. I was going to do goods wagons this week, but I've decided on something else instead. Because the main priority is to get my coaching stock sorted and into boxes. But I bought two of these with the plain tops, because what they allow me to do, they very kindly provided a sheet of paper with which they use to put on their own boxes. And I can take a photograph of a piece of stock, put it on here, and then I can glue that into place on the box and have my own picture of what I've got in here. So what this week have I got, do you ask? Well, I'm going to talk again about O.V.E Bullied, who was a great innovator in many, many ways. As model railway enthusiasts, or railway enthusiasts, you would know, he built the Light Pacific class of locomotive, but also, as in common with a lot of other chief engineers on other railways, he built his own particular line in passenger coaches, and they continued to be built to his design until 1951, when the first of the Mark I's come in. Now, the blurb tells you that the Mark I coaches were supposedly combined the best features of all of the railway companies, but I have always had the impression that it was the Bulleid coaches that made the major contribution to the shape and strength of the Mark I stock. Not all of his coaches were painted in blood and custard, but some of them were, and the ones that were eventually allowed to go on inter-regional trains. So I have put together a small rake of coaching stock that incorporates a couple of Bulleid coaches, one of which I'm trying to get out the box here. Here you see a typical Bulleid coach, and you see the rounded ends here. That was incorporated into the Mark I's. You'll notice they have rounded edges at the end, but the main feature by which you can identify a Bulleid are these little oval windows above the main doors there, see? Into later Mark I stock, of course, the window was a bit bigger, that was filled in, and there was a notice above inside that said, "Do not lean out the window." But this is almost a Mark I, but this is probably one of the later Bulleid coaches. It looks like it's a corridor. It's a corridor coach, probably not a composite, because there's no first class, but we'll just call this a CK. No, not even a CK really, is it? It's a corridor anyway. So that's that one. And we'll put that in the box. Now, you've got to have a proper brake coach and loco hauled stock. And so here, I just noticed, hiding underneath these, I've got to be careful. There's some bits and pieces. I don't know what they are, but I'll have to try and take these off. I'll take them off and put them in the box later. Yeah. excuse me. And here is a Bulleid brake second. And there we are. Interesting to note this extra bit here. It's obviously vestibule. That may well have been a toilet, that, but no, yeah, could well have been a toilet on one side looking at the shape of those windows, but on this particular model it's not blaked out very well. So anyway, there's the brake coach, so I don't need to worry about that. Now, when they ran in fixed form, they would run at times in fixed formations, 3 cars, 4 cars, 6 cars. But I think by the time we got to British Railways days, we were looking at quite a mixture of different shapes and sizes and colours in any one train. So what I've decided to do is, as Bulleid obviously was a southern man, well, we've got more stuff here. All extra bits and pieces that half the time I don't know where it's supposed to go, but you try. Have you tried getting this clamshell stuff open sometimes? I've no idea how this is gonna work. I'll be back in a mo. I finally figured it out. Now, of course, you can't have a long distance train. In those days, you couldn't have a long distance train without a buffet or a restaurant. So here we have it. Excuse me. This one is an early Mark 1, which would have been very commensurate with the Bulleid stock. And no smoking signs that have come in then. So there we have it. A 3-car train with a buffet. And what I've done here is I'm making up a 4-coach train set, which would have been part of a longer distance train, and as far as I'm concerned, for the purpose of Navard's telling and this line, this would have been detached at Banbury or Oxford, depending on which they decided. The main portion, probably 8 coaches or so, which probably would have had a restaurant car rather than a buffet in the 8 cars, would have gone down to Southampton and Bournemouth, and this short train would have headed down into London and down across onto Southern Metals and probably ended up in Brighton and or Eastbourne. I would imagine Brighton would probably be the destination of choice. But because they were long distance trains, in those days they would very often be expected to carry an amount of parcels as well. And so you very often find at the back of the train a general utility van. We carry all sorts of stuff in here, parcels, etc. There we go. And that would be tagged on at the end, probably behind the brake van. So that will be the 4th and last carriage in my consist. And as I say, there's the train. The boxes, I spoke about that last time. Personally, I'm not too concerned about any loss of value because the original boxes aren't there. Coaches at the moment at least are holding up value very well if you can show that they've been kept in very good condition even though they're unboxed. And keeping them in proper boxes like this, designed for the purpose, actually you're doing yourself a big favour, because these will probably hold almost as much value in here as a 4-car set as they would have done individually in their boxes. However, I know, yes, you like to see something running. Bear with me, because I'm going to continue with the Bulleid theme, and let's see what we've got for you today. Allow me to introduce Bulleid diesel number 10201 in its later BR green livery. Now, believe it or not, the design of these began before the LMS came out with what it called its twins 10,000 and 10,001, although they were actually built and running before these were on the rails. That was 1949. These came online in 1951 and ran on a variety of duties on the southern region, that eventually they got transferred between regions, LMS and what have you, and ran in conjunction with 10,000 and 10,001 on trials and various bits and pieces. This one lingered on, believe it or not, until 1962 when it was withdrawn, and alongside the other two, because there were two more, it was sadly scrapped in 1963. If only preservation had been in the kind of state then that it is now, we might have seen one of these preserved. But as you can see, it is a big piece of kit, and as a model's concerned, it's really heavy. And it's got a 1 Coco 1 formation on each bogie. There were six motors on the axles of this locomotive, giving it quite a bit of poke. Anyway, you'll want to see it running, and of course it's best run with the rake of the coaches that it was designed for, so I'm going to get my Bulleid rake out and we'll give you a chance to see it running round. I do apologise for those of you out there who don't know what 1 Coco 1 means. As you'll see when the train goes by, there are 4 wheels on each axle. I did explain earlier that there were 6 axle motors driving 3 of the axles on each. 1 Coco 1 means that the first bogie is non-powered, the next 3 bogies have motors, then we go back to the last bit of the train. 3 of those wheel sets have motors, and the final set of wheels doesn't. So there you are, non-powered, powered, 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 non-powered. And that's basically what the 1 Coco 1 is. The 1 always means non-powered. And similarly, if you see a locomotive that is, you say is Bobo, that usually means that it's 2 sets of wheels on each bogie, both of which are powered. But more of that later as and when necessary. But this is called a 1 Coco 1, a very powerful locomotive, and now you can see it running with the stock it was designed for. As you can see, it's very responsive to the controllers. This is not DCC, this one, this is analog. And there you have it. Bullied diesel loco, Bullied coaches, a very early Mark 1 stock. And that's it for this week, folks. Hope you've enjoyed your little look. Now I've got to think about what I'm going to do next time. So, bye for now.